Good evening, welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu on the programme this evening. In the ongoing information warfare following India's Operation Sindoor in May, several Pakistani OSINT accounts and pro-Pakistani handles have circulated fabricated satellite images purporting to show successful Pakistani strikes on Indian military bases, including facilities in Adhampur, Bhuj and Amritsar. Now, the images, often doctored with superimposed craters, outdated pre-conflict photos or misinterpreted maintenance marks. These have been systematically debunked. These are some of the fake images that we are talking about, and we're going to show these to you in just a few moments. Renowned OSINT analyst Damian Simon has exposed multiple instances revealing recycled visuals and digital manipulations with no evidence of actual damage. Independent verification confirms Indian bases remained intact and operational. This disinformation campaign highlights persistent efforts to rewrite or attempt to rewrite the narrative of the brief conflict. What we'll now do is show you images of the fake Pakistani images, why they are fake, and then present to you real time-stamped, high-resolution images of India's strikes on Pakistani terror camps and air bases during Operation Sindoor. Now, first up, this is one of the images which purports to showing the Amritsar air base. This is the original incorrect post, and let's just zoom in over here. This is the original incorrect post which appeared on several Pakistani OSINT handles, right? And it claimed that this was in Amritsar where a Fateh rocket of Pakistan destroyed this particular facility. So this is what the claim was. Now, Damian Simon has gone through these images, and let's zoom out so that we can explain to you that this particular shed that you see over here, this is not a roof which has been penetrated at all. It's the tarpaulin of this roof which has been removed, right? There is no breach of this structure at all. So, in other words, it's a fake image which is they're passing off as being a hit during Op Sindoor. Let's go to the next image, another fake image which is being passed off. Now, again, this is the original incorrect post. The original incorrect post says more satellite images point to a destruction by Pakistani Fateh-1 attacks. They claim they've got before and after posts. But this is the fact check. So zoom out. This is the fact check. This particular structure, which might just be a munition shed, only the roof covering material has been removed. This is not a penetration into any structure. So there has been no deformation of this particular structure at all, and therefore this is fake. Now, this is being spread to indicate some sort of massive Pakistani success. Experts will look at this and know instantly that this is not what penetration actually means in the context of a military strike. And I'll show you examples of when that has taken place. Let's go to the next image. And again, what they're claiming over here is that these structures were apparently hit, were apparently struck, but there is no deformation. In fact, there is no penetration of these which has taken place. This is what the structure of the roof looks like. All right, this is the way it actually appears. Let's go to the next set of images if we can. Let's bring to you another one. Again, more examples over here. But this was supposed to be a hit which took place in this particular area. That's not taken place at all. Let's go to the next image of this particular site, as I understand it. If we can keep moving through these images quickly so that we can cover much more. These are now pictures of India's strikes. These are pictures of India's strikes during Op Sindoor. Now, this is one of the terror camps which was struck on the 7th of May. This actually shows a precision hit taking out, right, the top of the mosque, the towers of the mosque, as a result of which there's massive damage inside. Now, this is the clarity, and we broke these images first for you on NDTV. And in all cases, in the reports that we brought you, these were all time-stamped. Let's move, and the location was clear. Let's move to the next one. This is Bholari, again a strike on the 10th of May. We brought you these images shortly after the attacks actually took place. This is what penetration on a roof actually indicates, right? This is where a Pakistani AWACS aircraft was likely destroyed. In fact, the Air Force is convinced that that's what took place over here. Let's move to another image. So again, the difference between a high-resolution, verifiable image and what the Pakistanis showed, this is Jacobabad. This is where the Indian Air Force chief has said that there were a number of F-16s which were likely under maintenance. This is what destruction actually shows, not grainy pictures that you take off low-resolution sites, some just off Google Earth, and claim that they were hit. Again, we'll move to a couple of other images. This is in Sakar. This is believed to have been a UAV facility of the Pakistanis. There's vegetation burn, which has taken place over here. This entire area is black. This entire structure has been entirely leveled, as you can see, right? And in a previous story of ours, we actually showed that this had all been cleared away, right? And that's what a hit actually shows you. And so these were just a couple of examples. Do we have any more pictures of what military hits are? This is in one of the primary air bases of the Pakistanis, a massive hit right in the middle of the intersection of the runway. The runway cratered. It was inoperational for an extended period of time. So what we've tried to do is compare and contrast what the Pakistanis showed earlier on and what high-resolution images showed just over here. Joining us now, Sushant Sareen, Strategic Affairs expert and Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Institute. We've got Air Marshal Sujit Pushpakar Dharkar. He's the former Vice Chief of the Indian Air Force, and General Syed Atta Hasnain. Thank you very much, General, for being with us. Air Marshal Dharkar, to you first. It's been so many months since Sindoor took place. Is it not rather desperate to pull low-resolution satellite images and claim that there have been hits when there is nothing to suggest that any meaningful hit took place?
This idea about Pakistani disinformation and misinformation is age-old. It's not a new thing. I mean, we've been seeing this from 65 actually, and it doesn't come as too much of a surprise. It's just that they've now tried to use modern technology and try to pass off what could be as passed off as possible by using what they claim is satellite imagery. And one only knows too well today that with even better tools, even more intricate imagery is possible. But then in some cases, what they've shown is actually bordering the ludicrous, because anybody, even a very casual observer or a slightly knowledgeable observer, would definitely be able to point out that what they're showing there just has no real meaning.
And if you, Air Marshal, compare it with the pictures we have on our screen right now, these are some of India's hits. These are all time-stamped, all right? And they were time-stamped the moment, I got it because we'd broken these stories. On the day of the attack, this is on the 10th of May, these showed, and we're just showing you the after images. We've got the before images of just a few days prior to the attack. And these are absolutely lucid, and they point to actual damage on the ground, which the Pakistanis have admitted themselves. They have never admitted earlier on that they hit Amritsar and these were the structures that they took out. Nothing of the sort, right? They claim to have, what's appearing now are very specific buildings. They've never made specific claims on any targets. It's for the first time that's happening, whereas we've always made very specific claims and we backed it up with these images.
Specifics being one, timestamp imagery being the other, comparative timestamp imagery being the third. Then some of the other claims that they'd made in terms of attacking bases like Adampur, Srinagar, attacking brigade headquarters and the like. It almost smells of desperation, because it's one thing to have to be selling a story to your own local audience. It's quite another to be trying to sell it to everybody around the globe. And in this particular case, given the capability that modern satellite imagery has, and the fact that satellite imagery is so much more available to so many more people now, I think it doesn't really take too much of an insight to kind of prove them wrong.
Sushant, your thoughts on this disinformation campaign? Is it some sort of can I just say, and I'm not somebody who sort of tom-toms one's own reports or stories or anything of that sort, but I do believe that the images that we brought viewers for the first time has really, really pricked the Pakistani establishment. It's really pricked the Pakistani establishment for them so many months later to start producing Google Earth low resolution imagery. Some of them were before Op Sindoor even began, to pass it off as hits. It just seems that it's a rather desperate move.
Vishnu, one, I think if you're blowing your own trumpet,
No,
you have
I'm
every
sorry.
right to do. You guys did a very good job back then, bringing out all this imagery in virtually real time. But okay, let me make 5 or 6 very quick points. First, do you remember when you guys were bringing out all those satellite images and the Pakis were saying that we have destroyed some 25 Indian air bases? They said 25, incidentally. And when we asked for evidence, they said, but commercial satellite companies don't give us any imagery because the Indians have bought them out, right? And suddenly now they're coming out with some imagery. Maybe it takes Pakistanis, given the level of the technology, it's taken them a fairly long bit of time even to download from, apparently internet speeds are very low out there. So it's taken them maybe 5, 6 months to download even from Google Earth satellites. And perhaps it's taken even longer for them to Photoshop those images. And they've done a pretty clumsy job of it. Second, um, the Pakistanis have been tom-tomming that they have become the toast of the world because they have defeated India. So what is rattling them so much that they now are trying to prove what they have not even done, and trying to come up with manufactured imagery. So you have to ask yourself why now. And I think there are serious problems within the Pakistani establishment because suddenly some of the old footage of Pakistani guys talking about how badly they have been hit have now started making the rounds. So I
Yes.
think that is what has forced them to come out and show their hand. Third, Vishnu, if you remember, from around the seventh morning, and the seventh evening rather, Indians have been had been saying, the Indian side had been saying, armed forces had been saying that they've tried to attack Amritsar, they've tried to attack a couple of other cities. The Pakistanis were telling you that no, we have not done anything. This is misinformation from the Indian side. Now, 6 months later, they are saying we've attacked Amritsar. They are congenital liars, okay, these people. Fourth, uh, they always used to take journalists to show that no damage has been done. I want to ask, why have they not taken journalists to all those 11 air bases that were hit? What was so top secret? If they should have taken a few of their favorite journalists. Most Pakistani journalists are in any case embedded with the armed forces. None of them can say anything, even a iota of truth they can utter from their mouth. Otherwise, they lose their jobs. Why couldn't they not have taken those embedded journalists and shown them that there was absolutely no damage? What happened to that? So, there is a litany of lies that the Pakistanis say. Their own people are either so stupid or so oppressed that they accept whatever lies is dished out to them by the Pakistan army. We don't have to accept their lies. And so, if you're calling them out, more power to your elbow, man.
General Hasnain, the entire narrative of Pakistan seems to be premised on losses which they say they've inflicted on the Indian Air Force primarily. Now, India has never denied losses. We've not quantified those losses, and we've gone into explanations of why the Air Force doesn't want to quantify the losses. But if you take a look at 65 and 1971, statistically, the Indian Air Force lost more aircraft than they did, but we ended up winning, I would say, both wars. Certainly 1971, we liberated a country over there. The Indian Air Force operates in an aggressive manner. Historically, that is true. It has always been the case. And therefore, India has always said we had certain objectives. What were those objectives? To hit those terror camps. Did we hit them? Yes, we did. When it escalated, did we hit their air bases? Yes, we did. So shouldn't the narrative, the truth, be about the final result which has been achieved and not hits which have been claimed?
Vishnu, thank you. Very, very interesting discussion. And as far as the technologies is concerned, the truth behind these imageries, I think you and the Air Marshal have explained them brilliantly. I think what I need to just tell you is that in the wide world of information warfare, there is no idealism. what your last part of your question was a lot of idealism that we have achieved this and shouldn't this be the correct picture and narrative? No, no one is going to say that. This is a world of lies. I mean, information warfare is all about lying through your head, through your teeth, to anything, right? So, what they're doing after 8 months is hoping that some of this imagery will stick to some of the people. And in some of the people, the largest objective is the internal homegrown objectives. Those are the people who will look at it once. I give you the example 1965, Victory Day, 6th of September. Have we ever denied it? We have never denied this kind of a thing. It's stuck to the mind of the Pakistani people that they won the war on the 6th of September 1965. 1971, you speak to most Pakistani generals, they will tell you we never lost the war. See what we did in the West, on the Western theater. In the East, this is what you gained because you had the superiority there. What about 1999? The complete white lies about the Mujahideen on the Kargil heights. These things stuck to some minds somewhere, some doubts somewhere. The whole world of information warfare is build up brick by brick, doubts in the minds, create those things, and don't bother about what the end result finally is.
No, you know the picture on your screen right now, it shows what they claim were attacks. This is either in Jalandhar or in Amritsar. Some of the buildings that we actually show have black roofs. When it rains in our part of the world, since we don't like to paint our roofs very much, they look terribly ugly, let's face it, like that. That is not a hit on a target. It's not. It's just the way, and in Pakistan as well, they have similar buildings. It just looks like that. That is not an indication of a building being deformed or perforated. You had a point, General?
Vishnu, you are telling the truth. And I say again, this whole narrative is not about the truth. You are analyzing, you are rationalizing. This business is not for the rational world. This is for the irrational. And Pakistan, you know, is one of the most irrational nations in the world going.
Sushant, you want to come in over here on what... I think it's important to also reflect on what I was talking about a little bit earlier on, the aggression of the Indian Armed Forces in carrying out operations. When it comes to the Indian Army, for example, we suffer a disproportionate number of officer losses because officers lead from the front. This is very different from the culture of the Pakistani Army. In the case of the Indian Air Force, and this has also been the case of the Indian Air Force, they're incredibly aggressive. They take hits, but they try and achieve their objective. Isn't this how we have historically operated?
But Vishnu, isn't this how armed forces are meant to operate? You can't always be playing it safe, right? If you're given a mission objective, then you are supposed to achieve that mission objective. And as we've heard from top generals and air marshals and admirals that yes, we factor in that there will be losses in a conflict, and we are prepared to take those losses. But for us, what is important is to win the war, not to do bean counting. So I think on that, I don't have any problems with what the armed forces doctrines are. Secondly, one minor point of not disagreement, but I'll just add to what General Hasnain is saying. Look, yes, it's the world of it's what, as they call, I hate the term, but they call it post-truth world, right? But look, even in the post-truth world, there has to be some kernel of truth in whatever you're trying to sell. The Pakistanis try and sell utter nonsense, and the people buy utter nonsense. Look, let's get it very clear. If you give me a satellite image, Vishnu, I'm sorry, I'm completely illiterate reading a satellite image, right? You need to have special skills to be able to read satellite imagery. It's a special art. Every Tom, Dick and Harry opens a OSINT handle because the ISPR is paying him 25,000 rupees a month, has no bloody idea of how a satellite picture has to be read. What are the detailing in that? How do what are the various factors that are involved in reading that? So quite clearly, they're making a boo-boo out there. Secondly, please remember that, when they announced the Chandigarh operation of theirs on the 10th early morning.
Sorry, I didn't hear that right, but please carry on, yeah.
Yeah, within a couple of hours, it had fizzled out. You remember once we hit the Noor Khan airbase, they said their ISPR chief, whose father was notorious for deriving energy out of jinns, that's his claim to fame. That guy came out and said, now we are announcing this Chandigarh operation of theirs.
Okay. Hold on. Let me bring in the Air Marshal.
Within a couple of hours, it had fizzled out because their other bases got hit and they were scurrying for cover. They were running around like the headless chickens wanting a ceasefire. But yes, I think where they have succeeded is winning, in the way they have portrayed the entire thing. And I think we, at least on the information war, I think we left a lot to be desired. Then we claim that, look, it was not important to win the information war, but you have to remember that there are three prongs to any war: diplomatic, kinetic, and information. On the first two,
So you see, this is where I disagree with you, Sushant, somewhat. In this, unlike Balakot, where there was no video which was available for whatever the reasons were, there is overwhelming video. We're seeing it on our screens now, which has been produced day after day after day during Operation Sindoor, and satellite pictures on top of that, and ground video like this. So when you say that the information war left something to be desired, all I counter that with is it was there from day one. I mean, the proof of the pudding is in incredibly clear footage.
Allow me one sentence.
Yeah.
You put out all the footage, you put out the information, and then you lost control of how to handle that information.
Exactly.
I think that is where you faltered. The problem was not that, number one, the way you are putting out the information, you guys did a very good job. But there were other channels which on the 8th, 9th were invading Karachi without knowing what Malir cantonment is all about. Right?
Okay, hold on. I'm running out of time. Air Marshal, come in over here. I want you to talk a little bit about, as a fighter pilot, the Indian Air Force going into missions like this, fully equipped to take hits, because the objective is something else. If you lose lives, if you lose machinery, then that's the job you've signed up for, right? That's the mindset.
Very true. I'll just make two quick points.
Yes,
One,
please.
to take on from what you've mentioned, I'll take the analogy of a boxer entering a ring. I'm certain he doesn't go there expecting that he'll not get hit at all. But at the end of it, when he knocks the opponent out, that is a knockout. And the second one being that what General Hasnain had just brought out about the Pakistanis believing they won 71. I'm sure 93,000 souls believe otherwise.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, sir. The disinformation flies in the face of images like this. But I take Sushant's point. Perhaps we needed to have done a lot more with what we had. We'll leave it over there, gentlemen. Thank you very much for helping me bust the lies of the Pakistanis when it comes to this particular theme on satellite imagery and what these actually show and what they claim they show. We'll leave it there. Good night to all of you.